Hey, welcome to the Film School. I'm Joe.
And I'm Chris.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about the nice 4K remaster of Stanley Kubrick's
The Shining.
Physically, it's not a very demanding job.
I'm intrigued. I'm outlining a new writing project. 5 months of peace is just what I want.
It'll be lots of fun.
Completely normal individual. But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown.
Tony told me never to tell him.
He killed his family with an axe.
We actually got to see it on the big screen, too.
It was really awesome. It was playing in select cinemas through Cinemark and Regal. And Fathom.
I think it was a Fathom Events, yeah.
At the Century, it was Fathom, but we went and saw it at the Regal. So it was just kind of... I didn't see anything beforehand. I don't know if they do a Fathom type thing.
I think it's similar, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
The reason why it was in theaters was to promote the 4K remaster release on the physical media, if you're into that, which I am. I know you picked this up too, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome. This is a Steelbook edition, which I really dig. But beforehand, we got a trailer. It's also promoting Dr. Sleep, the upcoming sequel based on the sequel novel by Stephen King. And beforehand, it had the second trailer for Dr. Sleep, and then afterwards a little featurette with Stephen King and Mike Flanagan, the director of Dr. Sleep, who also did Oculus and Gerald's Game, another Stephen King adaptation that he did on Netflix. I don't know if you saw it a couple years ago.
No, I never.
Really good. You should check that. You should check that out if you haven't seen Gerald's Game. I'm really not going to tell you much about it, but there is a scene in it that just... Our friend Keith, and we went and saw this with, who I tried to get on the show, but he's a little camera shy right now. But one day, Keith, you will be on this show. Mark my words. But yeah, we were both talking about there's a scene in that movie that both made us a little nauseated. It made 127 hours look like a Disney movie, but it's worth seeing. But yeah, I'd never seen The Shining on the big screen. Have you?
No, this was my first time as well, and it was awesome. I was real happy to see it on the big screen. So,
I mean, there's going to be some spoilers here, but it's a 39-year-old movie, so I'm sorry that I'm not sorry. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's an iconic horror film, but that first shot, like the little island, the water and everything, and just, wow, it just looks so amazing. The cinematography in this movie is still amazing. Who shot this one?
John Alcott, which Kubrick used a lot. I mean, he shot Clockwork Orange and...
Barry Lyndon?
Yeah, he actually won the Academy Award for Barry Lyndon, so...
What about Full Metal Jacket? Did he shoot that one too?
No, he unfortunately passed away.
Passed away? Okay. Oh, that's right. Shining was his last movie,
I believe so, yeah.
Man.
And
brilliant score by Wendy Carlos.
What's interesting is the guy, I think it was his assistant cameraman that helped him on The Shining, actually shot Eyes Wide Shut. So, Larry Smith or Larry something.
Bird.
No, but anyway, which I thought, he used a lot of the similar lighting.
Yeah.
From The Shining and Eyes Wide Shut. I thought it was a lot of similarities. I thought it was...
Eyes Wide Shut, though. I don't know if you, and I don't mean to trail off here, but I don't know if you got this feeling, but the first time I saw Eyes Wide Shut, I felt like it was almost like Stanley Kubrick knew it was going to be his last movie, because it seemed like there were references to other films in there.
Yeah.
Like there's a little Lolita, played by Lily Sobieski, who's just super cute. There's the street gangs that harass Tom Cruise that kind of reminded me of Droogs.
Droogs, yeah.
And then there's that room where Tom Cruise goes into where one of his patients is dying, where the daughter makes a move on him. It was lit like the bedroom at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah. Plus all the tracking shots really of Tom Cruise walking around that set, that recreation of New York and Pinewood Studios, really reminded me of like Paths of Glory, So there's a lot of his trademarks in there, but this is one of his finest films. And I have to say this, though. I mean, Stephen King's never been... I think he's finally come to terms with accepting that it's a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Right.
but he's never really liked it as an adaptation. And if you've read the novel or seen the 1997 three-part miniseries for television,
I never watched.
with Mick Garris, I've got it on DVD if you ever want to borrow it. I mean, it's 4.5 hours. It's got Rebecca De Mornay and Steven Weber, and it's obviously Stephen King adapted it himself, so it's more faithful. It's mostly the book. This is a Stanley Kubrick film. This isn't the Stephen King novel. So as an adaptation, it's not a good adaptation, and you are right about that, Keith. But as a film, it's brilliant. I think it's one of my favorite Stanley Kubrick movies.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's up there, but it's not my favorite.
I said one of my favorites.
Right. Okay.
But I'll tell you this: seeing younger Jack Nicholson on the big screen, dude is a weird looking guy. I'd never really realized how odd looking he really is until seeing this movie. For some reason, I've seen him freak out in other movies, but
Well, it can't be. Shelley Duvall.
she's odd looking too.
Yeah, with bug eyes. But anyway.
But yet, for some reason, when she's in Robert Altman movies like Three Women and Brewster McCloud and Nashville,
yeah.
and even Popeye, for some reason, I think she's super cute. But in this movie, she's just, of course,
Maybe he did that. He probably did that on purpose. Made her kind of look like bland.
yeah, kind of bland. And then he definitely put her through the ringer. Since Kubrick, because she's used to working with Robert Altman, who is more improv based, and Kubrick is very precise. And he was a lot harder on her than he was on Jack Nicholson. If you watch the behind the scenes, that it's the same behind the scenes it was on the original DVD and Blu-ray that Vivian Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick's daughter, shot. But he's definitely harder on her. I feel bad for her. But in case you haven't seen The Shining, a brief synopsis: Jack Nicholson plays a character by the name of Jack Torrance, who is a former teacher. An aspiring writer who accepts a job at a hotel.
The Overlook Hotel.
Overlook. Where is it supposed to be at? Colorado?
Yeah, it's in Colorado.
Colorado. And he moves his family there, his wife, Wendy, played by Shelley Duvall, and his son, Danny. And the hotel has a history of what might be insanity, or maybe it's something supernatural, and Jack Nicholson kind of goes down that road and eventually tries to kill his family. And one of the reasons why I like this movie is because unlike the book, which is very literal in its explanations of why this happens, this movie's a lot more ambiguous. The first half makes you think it's just maybe a shared hysteria,
Right.
And then the supernatural happens. In fact, Kubrick says that, or has stated that the actual supernatural does happen the moment that Grady lets Jack out of the meat locker. At that point, it really is supernatural, but beforehand, it could have been just insanity.
Right.
Beautifully shot. I love the insanity of the hotel, too, because the interior does not match the exterior at all. Like, it's so different. It seems like it's like a TARDIS. It's like bigger on the inside.
Well, just like the ending, dude, with the snow and in the maze, it just was amazing how it was lit and everything, how they made it look. I mean,
yeah, the whole exterior set during the snow, because that's not on location. That's all in the old 007 Pinewood Studios.
Yeah, it looks
impressive.
Yeah. This was back, when they, actually framed the shot and made it look great.
And beautiful use of Steadicam.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they're going through the hedge maze or when they're following Danny on his big wheel throughout the hotel. And the use of sound in this movie. Like ominous tones, but even just like normal sounds. The way that the big wheel is loud and rumbly on the hardwood floors, but then it hits the carpet and it's kind of silent,
Oh.
It's a brilliant, iconic horror film. Whether you if you compare it to the book, and I try not to do comparisons because usually you'll let yourself down in one department. You'll like one over the other, but I think this is one of the greatest horror films ever made, personally. And I don't know about you, but in 2019, it still has the same effect on me that it's always had.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's what, 2 hours and 20 minutes long?
Yeah.
143 minutes? Doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't. Like, there isn't any moment in that film where I'm like, okay,
Right.
Slowing down. Every shot's beautiful. And of course, Scatman Carruthers. I love Scatman Carruthers, especially in this movie. I mean, he's always going to be Hong Kong Phooey, and he's always going to be Jazz from Transformers. But this would be like my... And Zapped. We can't forget about Zapped with Scott Baio and Willie Ames. And he's smoking the giant joint. And yeah. But Scatman Carruthers, I love that, man. So it's nice the footage that we saw from the featurette afterwards, how they have Carl Lumley from Mantis and Justice League and Supergirl and Cagney and Lacey playing Dick O'Halloran, the Scatman Carruthers character.
Yeah, they look a lot alike. So.
They really do.
So.
And I mean, what do you think of this upcoming Doctor Sleep? Do you think it looks pretty good?
Yeah, I do. I think it looks really good. I'm excited to see it.
Me too.
So.
I think they recreated some of the scenes quite nice from The Shining quite nicely.
They even used the music too.
Yeah.
At least in the trailer, I'm sure.
I hope they do in the movie. I really hope they do, because that theme song by Wendy Carlos is just classic. It's always on my Halloween playlist, you know. In fact, there's a song by Throbbing Gristle called Something Came Over Me that's... They didn't sample, but they kind of recreated that same sound, because I'm pretty sure Genesis Peorage, you know, and the late Peter Christopherson were fans of Wendy Carlos, because kind of a weirdo, you know, just like they are. So,
right.
and a pioneer in electronic music. I mean, if you've heard the score to Clockwork Orange, then you know, been doing the Moogs and everything for a long time. So, such a great movie, such a treat to see it on the big screen.
It's amazing, yeah.
Is it? Do you think it's still playing, or is the limited release already done?
No, it was just a limited run, I think. 3 nights, I believe.
3 nights?
Yeah.
Well, if you get a chance, pick up the 4K release, because I mean it's pristine. Like, I don't think that movie has ever looked as good as it does. I mean, granted, 4K does like with 1080p and Blu-ray, it kind of does open up some of the limitations of films that were not shot digitally. You see a lot more of the film grain, but that's what I like about film. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that, but
I feel the same way.
And how do you feel
gives
about
it that authentic look, you know? I think it's, yeah.
How do you feel about the handful of filmmakers that are left that are still shooting on actual film? I mean, what's his name? Robert Eggers, who did The Witch and The Lighthouse. I mean, The Lighthouse is shot on 35mm black and white film stock. I don't know how he found that. Spielberg still utilizes film. Tarantino.
Christopher
Nolan.
J.J. Abrams.
I mean, Sam Mendes isn't 1917 on film?
It looks like it, but you know, I'm not sure. I mean, it's expensive, I guess. So you know, a lot of these, I guess, you know, independent filmmakers, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I get it.
Yeah.
You shoot it on the digital, but
well, even major studios. I mean, I don't know if Scorsese shot The Irishman in film or if it's on digital. You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And it makes me wonder if what movie was I just thinking of? It might have been shot on film. Like, I wonder if Get Out and Us were shot on film. I mean, I think the Coen brothers' last film, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, was shot digitally, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, Inside Llewyn Davis was shot on film, and I'm pretty sure that Hail Caesar, well, that might have been shot digitally, but it's kind of sad. It's a dying art form.
Yeah, it is. It's a bummer.
Yeah. But 'tis the season. Right now is the scary movie season, so check out The Shining. I mean, I give it 4 out of 4 stars. I think it is one of Kubrick's masterpieces.
It's a classic, for sure.
It's so good. I will say this, though, however, The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors 3 or 4, where they do their version of The Shining, that has kind of ruined some elements of this for me now, because every time I see certain scenes, like with the blood in the elevator, I always think of, odd. Usually the blood gets up on the 2nd floor, you know, and that kind of stuff. But and that's another thing. Dr. Sleep, at least in the trailer, I don't know if they use it in the movie, but they used the same shot of the blood coming out of the elevator. They didn't recreate that. They just used that from the movie, because they only did that in one take.
I have a feeling that it was probably just for the trailer.
Just to kind of let you know it's the sequel.
Yeah, but you never know, though.
if it is in the movie, it makes sense because trying to recreate that shot would be impossible. I mean, even Kubrick knew we can only do this in one take. Just with how many gallons of flipping blood in that thing? Like 30 gallons, 60 gallons, 80 gallons. I mean, it floods the camera. Like, I feel bad for the people I had to clean up after that. It'd be quite a mess. But, yeah, let us know what you think of The Shining. If you feel like it's a classic, if you feel like it's dated, either way. I know my niece, Lawrence, she kind of was like, it's shot in that old school way, you know, compared to movies today. And I kind of had to explain to her that, I mean, yeah, it's your opinion for sure. But it's better than all the handheld stuff now, the shaky cam. Like, it's nice to have static shots where the motion is in the shot.
Yeah, throw us your comments. Tell us what you think. Tell us if we suck, we're good. Tell us what you think about this movie. Come on, help us out.
Help us out.
Like and subscribe.
We appreciate you watching us, you know, so definitely communicate with us. We'll communicate back. Go get this. Or download it or stream it, whatever you do. Either way, it's a great movie.